Psalm 77. I cried out to God for help. I cried out to God to hear me. When I was in distress, I sought the Lord. At night, I stretched out untiring hands, and my soul refused to be comforted. I remembered you, O God, and I groaned. I mused, and my spirit grew faint. You kept my eyes from closing. I was too troubled to speak. I thought about the former days, the years of long ago. I remembered my songs in the night. My heart mused and my spirit inquired, will the Lord reject forever? Will he never show his favor again? Has his unfailing love vanished forever? Has his promise failed for all time? Has God forgotten to be merciful? Has he in anger withheld his compassion? Then I thought, to this I will appeal, the years of the right hand of the Most High. I will remember the deeds of the Lord. Yes, I will remember your miracles of long ago. I will meditate on all your works and consider all your mighty deeds. Your ways, O God, are holy. What God is so great as our God? You are the God who performs miracles. You display your power among the peoples. With your mighty arm you redeemed your people, the descendants of Jacob and Joseph. The waters saw you, O God. The waters saw you and writhed. The very depths were convulsed. The clouds poured down water. The skies resounded with thunder. Your arrows flashed back and forth. Your thunder was heard in the whirlwind. Your lightning lit up the world. The earth trembled and quaked. Your path led through the sea. Your way was through the mighty waters, though your footprints were not seen. You led your people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron. I wonder, as I read that psalm, what was going on in you? Were they just words going in one ear and out the next? Did it go right over your head? Or perhaps this was the perfect language to describe exactly where you are today. Sometimes we think of the Psalms of Lament as only for those who are melancholy, sad, or distraught. Perhaps you heard the words of this psalm today and you are disappointed that we are entering into such a heavy word when you maybe are in a place that's good and hopeful. Wherever you find yourself today, I want to suggest that God has something to say to you through Psalm 77. The psalmist, named Asaph, seems to be recalling a traumatic time in his life and is reflecting on the places where he got stuck, where he hit rock bottom, and where eventually he was able to find peace and climb out again. It's almost as if he knew we would be listening to this psalm today, and he is sharing wisdom on how to make it through such a storm. The beginning of the psalm is soul-wrenching. It's clear that Asaph is in a storm. He cried out to God, expecting God to hear him. The words here are literally, with my voice I shrieked. With my voice I shrieked towards God. We have no idea what crisis was going on in the psalmist's life, but it was enough to cause him to do this, to shriek. He knew he needed to cry out to God. He was in distress. He knew he was supposed to seek the Lord out in times like these. He prayed all through the night. He remembered God. He did all the right things, but his soul still refused to be comforted. God, who was supposed to be the answer, seemed now to be the problem. His spirit was not lifted with the divine thoughts that he had. It only grew faint within him. He apparently fell into insomnia. He could not sleep, and he pins it on God. You kept my eyes from closing. He tried making sense of it all, but in the end, there just were no words. He was too troubled to even speak. I wonder how many of you have ever said this. I have. no words. The psalmist tries again. He tries getting back on the hope horse, thinking of the former days, the good old days of long ago, the songs that had got him through times like this in the past, but it only made matters worse. How could God have allowed this to happen? He is so distraught with the Lord that he can't even face him directly with his questions, and so he spirals even further into himself, and alone he asks, will the Lord walk off and leave us for good? Does he even care? Has his love worn threadbare? Has God forgotten to be merciful? Has he stormed away in anger? As Eugene Peterson puts it in The Message, the psalmist here seems to hit rock bottom. It's my luck. The high God goes out of business the very moment I need him. But then something amazing happens. There is a distinct change in the song, as distinct as an inspirational key change. It's almost as if the psalmist begins to doubt his doubts. He says, "To this I will appeal, the years of the right hand of the Most High. I will remember the deeds of the Lord." Inspirational key change. But then the key changes again. "Yes, I will remember your miracles of long ago." Did you notice it? He no longer is speaking into thin air. He is speaking directly to God. God is back in the room, back in the picture. I will remember your miracles. From this point on, the focus moves completely off of himself and directly 100% onto God. The psalmist moves from him, H-I-M, to him, H-Y-M-N. The word I does not come up again for the rest of the psalm. Your ways, God, are holy. You perform miracles. You display power among people. Your mighty arm redeems. Waters saw you and writhed. Your lightning lit up the world. Your path, your way, you led. Now, on first reading of the psalm, you might think, okay, this psalmist is clearly a little bit insane. He's already tried remembering God at the beginning of the psalm, and all it did was give him insomnia and an existential crisis. Now he's trying this remembering thing again? Is that not the very definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result? At first glance, this seems to be the case. But the key to this psalm lies in the change from I to you. Perhaps it was a last-ditch effort. Maybe it was hitting rock bottom with all of his questioning. But whatever happened, the psalmist successfully moved from singing the woes of himself to singing a hymn, H-Y-M-N, that confidently speaks of a mighty, holy God and his miracles. The movement in Psalm 77 takes a psalmist from a remembering that caused bitterness to remembering that brought peace and strength for today, bright hope for tomorrow. And so I ask you who are listening today, do you need to take a step away from I and move towards you? Do you need that movement from H-I-M to H-Y-M-N? I know many of you listening today, I know some of you have real trauma in your past. Some of you have a real crisis on your hands right now. And maybe you are looking for an interpretation for the hurt and pain that will make sense of it all. Better yet, make the current difficult circumstance just go away. You may be longing for the good old days. Years when life seemed easier, times when life seemed less complicated, when God was less complicated, and certainly less distant to you. But I call you today, church, towards a collective memory of faith, not just your own. I call you to interpret the meaning of your past trauma or your current crisis within the context of God's mighty acts of the past. Perhaps this is a context you have never considered before. Perhaps it's one that you've just forgotten. One commentator summarized this psalm's ending as the tonic of memory. Now, by tonic, he doesn't mean that bubbly water like soda that you make a mixed drink with. No, tonic as a noun means a medicine that gradually restores the normal from a condition of debility. This is exactly the reason why it's so important that you are here today, whether online or in person. It is the telling, retelling of the story of God and His mighty acts week after week, year after year. It is in fact like a tonic that gradually brings its hearers from places of debilitation to places of peace, strength, and hope. Remembering God's mighty work is restorative. It is how godly men, women, and children have been able, in the midst of severe trial, pain, trauma, and loss, to say with full confidence, "It is well with my soul." How else could one make this claim? So I call you today beyond yourself, your situation, your problems. Move beyond me, myself, and I. I want to make the bold claim that to move beyond your own individual story to God's is not neglecting yourself. In fact, as a Christian, it's perhaps being most true to yourself, if you can believe that. It is what the psalmist did. It is as if he said, "This is it. This is the way forward." Not prayer for circumstances to be changed, not fretful recollection that things are not as they used to be, but remembering the works of God and the God who performed those works. Strength for today, bright hope for tomorrow. It is well with my soul. Amen.